Good morning to you, Grenada, and the rest of the world. It is a Tuesday morning, the 9th day of April 2019. I'm George Grant, and welcome to today's edition of Gudday Grenada. Hope you can make it with us for the full 9 yards this morning. It's going to be a good morning. Nice sunshiny skies out there. But let's get right into the rundown. Okay, we're going to begin by asking the question, how well are constituents and constituencies in Grenada benefiting from their representative in Parliament? I'm going to keep you in a little bit of suspense, and in just a wee bit, we'll tell you why that question. Then we do have the national report, which is just loaded with information about the games a couple of days ago. And finally, he is going to be here in the flesh, sitting right next to me. Mr. Ray Roberts is with us this morning. Now, let us begin with our question in our quest for good governance. Yesterday, someone from the diaspora sent me an article which appeared in the online publication Caribbean News Now. As I read it, I recall just how much attention Grenadians living abroad, like you, pay to what is happening in the land of their birth. And that's important, because it gives a different perspective on things. It clearly shows that when those of us who live here complain, we do so with good reason. I'd like to share that article with you. It is captioned, "How well are constituents and constituencies in Grenada benefiting from their representative in Parliament?" The author is Winston Strong. I quote, "Perhaps it's a nasty habit of mine, but whenever I'm in Grenada, I tend to get a proud feeling of being in the country, and I grab every moment of the time spent here to engage with people and soak up the good things our country got to offer. However, as I walk or drive around, especially in the parish of St. George, I got to thinking just how good or how poorly our members of Parliament, our MPs, are looking after their respective constituencies and constituents. The only time I've heard from Tobias Clement, my MP, St. George Northeast, since the general election was shortly after he was re-elected and decided to be the self-appointed parliamentary shop steward. Here's a man who did absolutely nothing for the constituency or constituents of St. George Northeast in his first 5 years in Parliament. On the strength of his government's performance over those 5 years, he was given a reprieve, but without saying thank you to those who re-elected him. Within days of his re-election, he was demanding a parliamentary pay raise and even had the audacity to go public to say he had sent a check to the value of his parliamentary allowance to the ministry as a protest, knowing full well it could not be accepted. This individual, I understand, is a professor. But by God, isn't this guy dumb? His actions were not only an embarrassment to his political colleagues, but to people like me who voted for him. This MP is so elusive in the constituency. He's known as the Invisible Man. I wrote to him during the 2018 election campaign about the condition of the roads in Mount Parnassus, especially Radee. I mentioned that the drains in Radee Avenue needed mending, stating that runoff water runs underneath parts of the drains rather than in the drains themselves. I referred to the lack of maintenance to drains in general, repair to potholes, and roadside debushing, seeking his support to get these things remedied. But to date, I have not had an acknowledgement or any form of response. The Invisible Man, in his election statement as part of his election pledge, did mention repairing bridges in Mount Parnassus and widening the road in Mardi Gras, where I understand he lives. Frankly, we need to take those pledges with a pinch of salt. I can say this without any fear. No significant change has been brought to either of these roads since before 1952, when I left Grenada as a child. These roads were flanked on both sides by open ditches, which still exist today, making them extremely unsafe for pedestrians as well as motorists, especially when large lorries are traveling in the opposite direction at high speed. Driving at nights can be a nightmare, since motorists traveling in the opposite direction fail to be courteous by not dimming their headlamps. Considering the amount of extra traffic that exists on today's roads and the environmental pollution, one can easily say we have gone backward in this regard rather than forward. The Invisible Man has failed to protect the visual quality of our environment, especially in the suburb, by not taking action on motor vehicle wrecks that have been allowed to be stacked alongside the road. He has failed to carry out or maintain proper and adequate markings, especially at pedestrian crossings installed near our schools. He has been unable to maintain road markings at road humps, sleeping policemen, if you will, which could result in damaged vehicles. He has failed to keep our drains free from weeds and debris, allowing puddles to develop, resulting in the breeding of mosquitoes, which is of great environmental and health concern. And he has failed to respond to his constituents' letters or emails. My grandparents on one side of my family own the land where we live on Laborie Road, exactly opposite the corner that was widened about 10 years ago, some 50 yards from the junction with the St. Paul's Main Road. My grandparents on the other side of my family were the Brunos of Mardi Gras. Most of their children, my uncles and aunts, emigrated, but we still have roots there. So, I am no stranger to the condition of these roads, despite the years. One can say, I know what I'm talking about. Similarly, over that period, I cannot say any significant change has been made to Laborie Road leading to Hopevale and beyond. We have a Minister of the Crown, Clarence Gregory Bowen, the parliamentary representative for St. George Southeast, who has represented this area for many years. Yet nothing has been done to improve the quality of the main road. Absolutely nothing. Bowen is not a lover of our heritage, especially our historical buildings. He is reported as saying that derelict buildings in our capital should be demolished. When someone like Bowen, who appears to lack vision, one can understand why there has been no progress in the improvement of the Laborie Main Road, leading to Hopevale and beyond. Another minister in the government, I believe, is letting his constituency and constituents down is Nicholas Steele, the recently elected MP for St. George South. While I have to admit that he has only represented the constituency for just over a year, this is a man who has been a government minister for over 6 years. During that time, he has developed a vast experience. Surely, he knew long before the general election was called in 2018 that he would be his party's candidate for St. George South. Therefore, he has no excuse for his lack of initiative in providing the funds or approaching the businesses in the area of Grand Anse with a plan to give some adequate children playing facilities to Camahan Park. What we have here at the moment amounts to nothing, which is hugely embarrassing, not only to the locals, but for visitors with young children expecting facilities that would entertain their young families. I believe that, first and foremost, the duty of elected members of Parliament should be to their constituents, the people who elected them, and their constituency. We elected them to act in our best interest, and that includes looking after their constituents of any political color and the constituency they represent in Parliament, regardless of their other responsibilities and duties, such as government minister. They work for us, and not the other way around. In fact, I will go as far as to say that a busy member of Parliament, in terms of their constituency duties, regardless of the position he or she holds in government, is a bad parliamentary representative and is no damn good. Has anyone seen The Invisible Man lately? Members of Parliament contact details should be public knowledge. This should include their constituency office details and information on when they are available to carry out surgeries, including venues and times. Constituency offices should be open for business daily, managed by a political assistant. Surgery should be at least once a month and at convenient times for constituents, such as evenings and weekends. I also believe that elected members of Parliament must keep in touch with their constituents and should address this by publishing and distributing some form of document at least once a year. A document that reaches each household they represent, outlining what actions and efforts have been achieved in terms of delivery to the constituency, what the government is doing, good or bad, in terms of health, welfare, education, employment, the environment, etc., the opposition, and what they are doing or saying, true or false. Documents with photos can say 1,000 words. Here in Grenada, we only seem to hear from our elected members at election time. That's not good enough. Once again, that piece was scripted by Winston Strawn as we continue our quest for good governance. Let me take a look here at Facebook. Peter is saying good morning. Fitzroy Adams is there as well. Dennis Charles is saying hello there, Mr. Grant. Margaret Francis, hello, Mags. Hope all is well with everyone. Yeah, Mags, we're fine. Donna Joseph is saying good morning, George, and the listening and viewing public. Glenna Knights is there. Kipling Francis saying morning to all, and of course, sending God's blessings as well. My dear friends, take a break. We'll come back with the National Report.
Boy, you, they gonna fly with kite now. The wind picking up.
I'm coming. Karim, what you doing?
Fly my kite.
Yeah, but not here. You can't fly kite near power lines, boy.
Why not? The wind good.
Because mommy say, kite threads conduct electricity.
Yeah, kite. He's right. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, it can cause power outages, or even worse, it can get shocked.
Come, let's go and fly them in the pasture.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kite threads conduct electricity. Do not fly kites near overhead power lines. This can lead to electric shocks and power outages. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, do not try to retrieve it. Release it and call GRENADA. Always fly kites in open areas. Keep your kites far away from roads. And remember, always clean up after yourself.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Start the stride to a healthy lifestyle at the 2019 annual Pump It Up Family Fun Walk. There'll be more fun, more smiles, and more prizes for families and friends. Join us in Carriacou on April 7th at 4 p.m. as we walk from the Harveyvale playing field to the Hillsborough tennis courts, and in Grenada on April 28th at 4 p.m. from the Montrouge playing field to the National Cricket Stadium. Packages cost $20 per person for up to 2 individuals and $15 per person for groups of 3 or more. Come out in your numbers to help us raise funds towards re-establishing the Carlton Home.
Welcome home.
With the details on Monday, April 8th, I am Sharian Noel. Former Registrar and Chief Executive Officer of CXC, Dr. Didicus Jules, says CXC cannot afford to make payments being demanded by some of the region's teachers to correct students' school-based assessments. He was responding to reports of threats by the teachers not to correct the SBAs if payment is not forthcoming. Dr. Jules says if forced to pay, CXC will have to pass on the additional cost to students. More details from regional reporter Stanley Lucien.
No, I'm not surprised, but I'm disappointed because the issue of payment for marking exams in general arose when I was registrar of CXC. And one of the first things I had done was to go to council asking for a significant increase in the subventions paid to CXC in order to pay markers much more, because there had been no increase for the preceding 25 years. So we felt that it was necessary to ensure that markers were given, more significant compensation for their marking.
During his tenure at the helm of CXC, Dr. Jules says he and the man who currently occupies his former seat tried desperately to address that concern.
The SBA from its inception was one of the most far-sighted things that the CXC could have done that distinguished it from Cambridge. Because as you know, just let's speak conceptually. First of all, the SBA is an opportunity to for students to apply the knowledge in whatever subject that they are doing to real life and to show the application of knowledge. That's one dimension. The second important dimension is that it is an opportunity for the teacher, the classroom teacher, who has interacted with the students throughout the year, to have a significant input into the grading, whatever is the final grade of their students, and therefore not just rely on a 2 or 3 hour exam, do or die.
The Caribbean Examination Council has held firm to the view that school-based assessment is part of the normal classroom duties for teachers and they should therefore not be paid any additional amount for assessing the SBAs.
It's very unfortunate because I think in some ways, this is a debate that is focused on the money, and the SBAs is not a monetary thing. Neither was it meant to be an imposition on teachers that would, unduly tie up their time and create extra effort. All of that was supposed to be fitted within the ambit of the work that they do in their classrooms, and to give value to that in awarding final grades to students.
The Caribbean Examination Council is one of the region's outstanding successes.
It's very unfortunate.
Classes in CXC subjects accepted for registering for post-secondary courses in the Caribbean, the United Kingdom, India, the United States, and other places. CXC, because of its use of innovation and its credibility, is considered a model in many far-flung regions of the world.
During the government's weekly post-cabinet briefing last week Tuesday, Minister for Education and Human Resource Development, Honorable Emmeline Pear, gave her ministry's position on the subject.
The Ministry of Education's position on this is that SBAs are part of the assessment, normal assessment of students. And we expect that this would form part of the regular assessment duties in accordance with the Education Act of our teachers. Now, it is not unique to Grenada that teachers feel that they should be paid additional, because for many, they feel that the last-minute extra work that has to be done. For some, they think that is a lot of work to be done at the end of the period. But we are saying if SBAs are done in the way that is prescribed to be done, we should not have what is happening now. So at this stage, a child should not be starting an SBA, probably if you talk about 2 weeks ago, or a child should not be rushing all over the place to get things done. What we expect would be happening is that over the period, the consistency, the continuous process would eliminate a lot of that end of period work that some persons have.
There is interest for sponsorship for a second edition of the National Secondary School Games, which was held at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium on Friday. The games were organized by the Grenada government through the Ministry of Education in response to the cancellation of the Intercall Games by the Grenada Association of Principals of Secondary Schools. Government said the decision was taken to ensure that students were not deprived of an opportunity to showcase their talent. Mr. Jerry Alexis, Curriculum Officer for Sports in the Ministry of Education, says the games were successful and have the potential to grow.
Definitely we're going to see a continuation. I think anything new in Grenada, you always receive some challenges, you always have questions about it. So the southern zone, as you noted, I wouldn't say it was a failure, however, it wasn't what we expected. There were a lot of positive coming out of it. And the sports grew from that. We went to the western side, western zone, and it was bigger. St. Andrews was bigger, and then Carriacou asked for 2 days, to do the meet. Come next year, hopefully we might have to do 2 days for every zone in order for us to get the field events and stuff in. But definitely we're going to have it next year. As I said on Beyond the Headlines on Monday, I would have spoken to an individual who's very, very interested in the games, collaborating with the government of Grenada, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Sports to be exact, to having these games next year. Even yesterday I spoke to the individual again, and he said, listen, Alexis, I was even speaking to an international sponsor yesterday, So, come next year, please a lot. I think we're going to be bigger and better as relates to these games.
During the official opening ceremony, Education Minister Honorable Emmeline Pear reaffirmed her government's commitment to put the interests of the nation's students first.
When the Ministry of Education, through the Minister of Education, was informed by the Principals Association that in 2019 there will be no meet upon, a decision was taken that the Ministry of Education, in collaboration with the Ministry of Sport, will hold the National Secondary School Games to ensure that we provide an opportunity for all of our athletes. Following this, a meeting was held with all of the principals, and we outlined the way forward as it relates to the hosting of the zonal
number of athletes achieved personal best on the tracks and on the field during the games.
Corinne, you first won 155 was the height when you defeated all your other competitors. You went to 161 and then you went to 164 and I think you were trying, was it 168?
Yeah, I was trying my best to do 168, but you know, anytime they clapping and things, this kind of make me feel nervous and things, so I tried my best.
So how hard did you train for today?
I trained really hard. Took me some years, but see today, I did well. I can congrats myself for that.
And how happy are you for this opportunity to come down here, and showcase your skill in high jump?
Opportunity.
You're happy for that opportunity?
Yeah, really happy.
And how do you feel it would turn out for the schools that make up the Eastern Zone in this inaugural championship?
It make them feel proud, real pride and thing, But when the preps, everybody come in for next year, please the Lord, make them feel really good knowing that Corey Mason jumped this already. And they come to break my record and everything, so yeah.
Well, I made my personal best 195, so I see a chance to do the 2 meters, so I had to take it.
So how hard have you trained for today?
Well, it's just been back and forth because for the week I rested, so get the muscles ready for today and stuff. Well, I've been training hard, doing my extra work home and stuff.
So who is your coach?
Coach Paul.
Paul Phillip?
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that Paul said you must execute here today in order to cross that 195 and eventually the 2 meter height?
Well, get the technique better and strengthen the legs, build the muscles.
The 100-meter under-21 boys was the most keenly contested race, with Neil Peters emerging the winner.
Neil Peters from the Western Zone, 10.53. When you ran the Western Games, you said your ultimate goal was to come down to and win the 100-meter. You did that. Tell us about the extra work you put in to ensure that happened.
Well, my coach told me I selected the 150s and what I was doing, so made me do 6 when I had it, and yeah, I guess as much things end up going as well according to plan. And
so finally from me for you, how competitive would you say that particular race was for you? Were you familiar with the other athletes and their ability?
Yeah, I was familiar with them because I know Nathaniel, well, he used to, and I would say used to, he was quicker than me. But after what I saw when I ran, yeah, I could do better, much better too.
One of the top athletes on the track from the Northern Zone was Zane McFarlane.
Well, first of all, I fumbled, so I got to catch up in the end of the race, but hopefully I didn't, but I appreciate the time.
And how hard did you train for this moment?
Well, training was very hard for me because, I did as well, so they got to put in the hard work.
On the 15 champions in the boys and girls category, Shanti Augustine and Tajon Peter King of the Southern Zone both spoke of the opportunity to showcase their talent during the games.
Very happy because 12.74 is a personal best for me, and at first I was a bit intimidated, but when the gun went off, I went and I did my best and I got great results.
So how long have you been training for this? Because I know you did not have secondary school games, but you get the opportunity to show off your talent at the National Secondary School Games. So how long have you been training and who have you been training with?
Well, I've been training with Speed Zone under Mr. Albert Joseph, and ever since I got into SJC, I've been training for Intercall, but the cancellation caused me, it did not, at first it saddened me, but I continued to train hard, and I heard that they made a little solution to have the National Secondary School Games. Happy.
11.45 seconds, that's a time clock by the winner of the 100-meter boy on the 15. Tajon, tell us about that spirited run. You had a clean start and you powered your way down.
Well, I've been training the whole season so far, and I know I have a lack of start. So in my mind was just to get the start and power go down.
You said that you have been training whole season. Who have you been training with?
Speed Zone with my coach. Albert Joseph and Tilani Frank.
So how happy are you for this opportunity today? Because you didn't get a secondary school game. I mean, intercall, you didn't get your school sports, but still training, and you got the opportunity today, and you would have established a record because anyone who wins today would actually.
Yeah, well, I feel happy. You know, I trained very hard for this moment, and I made a personal best, and it's just amazing.
Were you trying to get a little lower than that 11?
Yes.
What was your target?
Well, to hit 11:20 some, but I couldn't make it. There's more opportunities again to make it, so I just wait and see.
On the 17 champs went to Kishona Phillip of the Southern Zone and Jaden Tika of the Northern Zone. The under 21 champs went to John A. Thomas and Jared Sylvester of the Eastern Zone.
You're known to excel in the longer distance races. You didn't make it that good in the 15, but you came out and you ran, and it seems as if you ran a pretty easy race here in the 400. How do you feel about this win?
I feel very good about this win. Coming from injury and running at a time like this, I'm very happy.
Jared, you didn't get to really shine this year because no intercall, no St. David's Catholic Secondary School sports. And this is your final year in secondary school. How happy are you that you got the opportunity here at the National Secondary School Games to go on display one last time for your mates?
I'm very, very, very happy to display my skills to my mates.
The athletes competed in a total of 60 events. Athletes who participated in the first National Secondary School Games have commended the government of Grenada for giving them the opportunity to be back on the track.
As an athlete, how do you feel to have been given this opportunity to compete? Because I know that you didn't have your secondary school game, you did not have the intercall, but you got an opportunity here at the National School Games, and to go along in the record as the athlete who would have, won the Under 21 boys for the inaugural games.
Well, I'm really grateful for the ministries and whoever had part to play in putting all of this together, because this has been a major benefit towards we, the athletes, because with opportunities like this, we get exposure to other types of events, other type of meets coming up, for example, character games, so we can at least prepare knowing that we have something to go for. And as any other athlete, I can't be more grateful for having this. So I'm kind of proud, even though it wasn't one of my best performances, but still got the opportunity to. So thank you.
Students from the Eastern Zone, comprising of St. David Catholic Secondary School, St. Joseph's Convent Grenville, Grenville Secondary School, the St. Andrews Anglican Secondary School, and the Grenada Christian Academy emerged champions with 304.50 points. The games were the culmination of 4 zonal meets to select the cream of the crop. The Southern Zone, comprising GBSS, Anglican High School, J.W. Fletcher Catholic Secondary School, Presentation Brothers College, St. Joseph's Convent St. George's, Wesley College and Boca Secondary School placed second with 229.50 points. Third position went to Northern Zone of Bishop's College and Hillsborough Secondary with 146.50 points, and fourth was the Western Zone, comprising schools Happy Hill Secondary School, St. Rose Modern Secondary School, St. John's Christian Secondary School, St. Mark's Secondary, McDonald's College, and Grenada 7-Day Comprehensive Secondary School with 118.50 points. The zones participated in both field and track events. This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Big business don't participate.
Welcome back. Committed to serving the academic development of youth in Grenada, the Grenada Houston Association, GHA, has made scholarships available to a number of students to further their education. During a brief ceremony on Friday, Education Minister Honorable Emmeline Pear commended the association for its interest in youth development.
I observed and realized that this organization started as a result of Hurricane Ivan. And a passion, I believe, that was stirred up after the passing of the hurricane, that we need to do something special for our students. And I want to commend that organization this morning. And so I want to challenge you this morning. However you see this contribution, in terms of quantity, in terms of size, to value it. Somebody worked very hard to ensure that you can have it today.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Kevin Andel, expresses his gratitude to the GHA for its work to ensure young people can secure their future.
I would really like to highlight the organization in which this award is being named, the Grenada Houston Association. Since 2005, that organization of dedicated Grenadians in the diaspora has been engaged in working with Grenada, committed partners to selling Grenada's culture out in the diaspora. But not only to sell Grenada's culture and to highlight what it is, but to also assist in the development of our young people through financial assistance to secondary school level and tertiary level students. As you go forward in your education, and I'm confident that you will make it and reach the highest heights that you should. I'm confident about that. I want you to remember to give back.
And that's the National Report for Monday, April 8th. I am Sherry Ann Noel.
Yes, sirree. Excuse him. He was caught napping, talking to his buddy here, Mr. Ray Roberts. Folks, there you have it, the National Report from the GIS. Now, you guys were pretty active on Facebook during that segment. First of all here, even before we started with the GIS, Kipling Francis was referring to that piece I read from Mr. Strawn, the piece that appeared in the Caribbean News Now, where Mr. Strawn was complaining that he had written to Tobias Clement and not gotten any responses. Kipling says, they just cannot get this replying thing correctly. Yeah, Mr. Strawn is not the only person, and I'm sure you guys know that. Carla Clement is saying good morning. And regarding the piece about the SBAs, Margaret Francis says, maybe if them Caribbean governments stop lining their pockets with the people money, then there would be money to pay for marking the SBAs. So says Mags. And then she goes on to say, this is about the intercall piece. She says, so, I guess they mash up intercall. There's also another comment, well, we'll get to Mags, another comment from her in just a wee bit. Kipling Francis here says, so far, education is fast becoming one of the tools used for indoctrination, mainly political. You notice, Kipling. Now, this is the part I wanted to get to with Margaret. Last night, when I watched this piece from the GIS, I noticed that the host conducted a pretty lengthy interview with one of the athletes. And at no time did I ever see a picture of that athlete on the screen. And I thought to myself, George, make a note. Tomorrow morning, when you air that, Margaret is sure to comment. Well, guess what? Margaret says, can we see the interviewee? See? Great minds think alike, Mags. I noticed that, and you did, obviously. Petra Andrews saying good morning from Chile, Canada. And Kipling says, what a shame. That's how low the government can get. Now, there's another comment here, a very interesting comment from Dennis Clark. And Dennis says, there is an apparent disparity between the conceptual design and purpose of the SBA and its application at the level of the school system. This disparity is evident from listening to comments from the minister and Mr. Jules on the one hand, and the teachers on the other hand. Very observant, Dennis. Thank you. Peter Bishop is asking the question here, why are they not showing the students they're interviewing? Wondering why. See, it wasn't just me who noticed that. Anyway. Benedict Cador says, the questions to the students were designed to elicit praise for the government. That's another observation that I made, sir. Thanks for noticing. Teacher Margaret, oh, bless your soul, girl. Margaret says here, didn't realize there was an R between the A and TH in athlete. Margaret, very important point. For some reason or another, we keep saying athletes. It's not athletes, it's athletes. No R. Anthony DeRigg says, why are they trying so hard not to show the empty seats? Kipling says, why would the cameraman show the empty seats and lose his job? Okay, folks, take a quick look. Just very quick look. See that man there? You're going to be hearing from him in just a wee bit. Hang in there. Mr. Ray Roberts is in the house. We'll get to him after this.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company, tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive, motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
Conveniently located in the Grandstand Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grenada will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep.
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
Together with you, our customers, we energize our community.
Together with you, we energize our economy. We are working together to give our nation a better tomorrow.
With you, we energize our future. Together, we energize our nation.
Thank you for partnering with us as we energize our Speyside.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, folks, just before I get to my buddy, Mr. Ray Roberts, there's an additional comment that just came in from Dennis Clark. He says, also, the GIS blatantly excluded the teachers' views on the SBA discussion. The president of the Barbados Teachers Union had a poignant criticism on the minister's position on the SBA. God bless your soul, sir. You know, one thing that's become very clear here is that despite the stuff that's put out there in the media by the GIS, you, the people, read right through it. You see and know the facts. And I thank you for being so observant in the interest of your country. Good morning, Mr. Roberts. And how are you, sir?
Well, I think I had a good morning so far.
You went swimming?
That's correct. Salt water is still on me. It was sort of interrupted when I read the little piece on your post. That's it's not, he lives not living that far from me. That is Darius.
Darius, yes.
Yeah.
Bad, sad news, eh?
Right. Yeah, it was kind of. So the morning swim was not as good, and then there were a couple of SGU people who worked there and know him very well. So, you know, the chat was centered on, you know, how sad it is and how unfortunate.
For those who may not understand what you're talking about, former
Deputy Commissioner.
Deputy Commissioner.
Police, yeah.
Darius.
Darius.
Died in a fire this morning.
Yes, or something like that.
Yeah, that's very sad news. Right. Ray, by the way, you talk about being at the beach, man. My friend was visiting from Canada last week or whatever.
Okay.
And took me down to Grandance Beach.
Good.
Ray, if I take my shirt off, you will see I'm peeling like a lizard.
Okay.
Anyhow, listen, man. A lot of the talk this morning in the GIS report was about the very successful secondary school sport. Did you go?
No, but I looked at it on television because it was carried on GIS and carried on GBN. So I looked at most of it. I would see from the outstart that the athletes who I saw performed, I would think they did their best. I was very impressed with Peterkin and a couple others. So there were some credible performances. And I will also say the topic which I touched on seems to have generated a huge amount of comments. That is, what his name is? It Baby Killer, Mr. Killer, whatever it is.
Yes.
To the rescue. Right. I saw their performance, and I thought they were very respectable. I thought they kept it, you know, to what was inspiring. They encouraged the students to do, you know, the things that they want to pursue in life, a career. And the songs they sang, I thought, you know, the whole package was, in my opinion, was within the school system.
So the fears anybody may have had were not warranted?
No, at the end of it, but I don't think it happened because I think the comments that came before would have certainly put the Prime Minister on his P's and Q's to say to them, look, let's make this a school package.
Okay.
There wasn't a crowd in the park, that's for sure. So anybody wanted to get away with that certainly didn't have a pair of eyes that was working. If you look at one, that's the stand this way was completely empty. Traditionally for the intercall, you would have had all the athletes there and others. That was completely empty. And your viewers are quite correct. You never really saw the upper stands, or you saw the one bleacher that was not crowded also too. And normally, that is the bleacher that generates the momentum and the chanting and so. I think it's propaganda, and I will say to you and your viewers, Grenada is sending the smallest Crifter Games team, not because of money, I assume, because they have to qualify. This is the smallest Grenada team in more than 10 years. So if we want to talk about success, you have to talk about success by the number of athletes you have qualified for such major events. And this year we have a team of, so far we have announced, is it 9 or 10 athletes?
Ouch, okay.
Yeah, so there's nothing really to boast about. There's really more pain that you have actually dismantled the intercall to stage something that is just showmanship and I would say a stupidity, because it's not achieving any objective. Yes, I would say it looked good. They had medal presentations like the Olympics and so forth, but you look down the road I think it would have been better to have a discussion among people of yesteryear, people who are now involved, and the future of the games. But that nonsense, I mean, GBN has become with stage managed activity. That's not helping Grenada. And then I'll tell you the truth. A lot of us don't watch these things anymore because we expect it. I mean, when you have a government senator hosting a program, I mean, it's not going to be anything other than paid propaganda. So I don't think, I mean, I'm on the beach in the morning with many people, and people have concluded, I mean, if you hear it, you hear it. If you're home, you see it. But there's no, let's put it like that, George Grant and, what it is, Sunday morning.
Sunday with George Grant.
Sunday with George Grant. There used to be, after church, I turn on to hear what's he sing, because it's on radio. I mean, that's not anymore applied to any of the stations, because it's stage managed. It's like you having a talk show with your own host, and the other side having a talk show. So you get this side propaganda in you, and the other side find things that can demean you. So I think we better stop that and do what is.
Well, you know, I think that's what I was alluding to a little while ago. Certain information is coming out of the government's electronic media, and just so divergent from what you're hearing on the ground, on the street, from the people.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Really. Anyway, but the good thing, Ray, don't be troubled, because the people see what's going on.
No, I am not. I mean, I am not, because, you know, last week I had to give Pastor Garvey a scolding, asking me what I have against young people. And I said him I wouldn't dignify the question, but I'll dignify his stupidity. Because if he knows my track record, he would not say that. And when let me put it this way, if you ask those, the people of the 80s, and Margaret will tell you that, I was one of the persons who championed the removal of this sort of disco, loud music in the sports. And they used to be playing casino-style games, enticing the children. And I will tell you, James Clarkson, who was a senior superintendent and others, they eventually had that removed from the sports. They were popular with children because children came and, I mean, played the casino-style games, and some of them, they won money and so forth. But is that the kind of activity we want to have in a school setting? Yes, they may do it when they get to me and your age, but do you want to groom them in that way from 10, 12, 13, 14? So I'm accustomed to fighting battles like that.
Maybe that's the future the government wants to build for this country.
Well, it doesn't augurs well for a brighter tomorrow.
Of course not. Of course it doesn't. But Ray, you know, you want to build a future, you get to the hearts and minds of your youth, and that's what these guys are doing. That's what they're feeding them.
Well, that's what we have to do, because quite clearly we are promoting an event that really and truly has not helped athletics. It has divided athletics. Yes, you had some coaches there that are working with the government, so they have to do it. You have officials who will have done what they have to do. But are they the best officials? Have you got the quality of the Grenadian population that are involved in sports, involved in this thing? You didn't, because some people stayed away because of solidarity with the teachers. And whether you like it or not, keep that word in mind, voluntarism. The Olympics, the FIFA, without voluntarism, sports cannot survive, because you unearth players and talent through that process. Why do you think Manchester United and Barcelona, they have camps in Africa and basketball, NBA? They go out into areas where a paid coach don't have the time to go. So that's why we must value voluntarism. The Kirani James and others were talent unearthed from villages and community that, well, I only heard about Bugon Battle when he came around. I mean, it became a popular phrase, not only in Grenada. If you look at a piece produced by one of the major sports network, they showed gun battle. And that's the only how we could have got there because of the talent. So let's not miss that boat. I am not perturbed by what I'm hearing. I mean, on the stations, everybody knows that that's not working.
It's become a propaganda tool.
Yeah, it's not going to work. It's not going to get anywhere. It's going to fade away in the next few years.
There's a comment here from Anthony DeRiggs. He says, Ray, is Grenada sending any athletes to the Penn Relay Games?
I'm not too sure. I don't think so. They went a couple of years ago, and in the last 3 or 4 years, they have not. So I doubt that. I think the focus is more on getting a team to the Caribbean Games. And they are going to the Caribbean Games.
Cheryl Jarvis says, and I'm reading this for the first time, Cheryl says, it is so unfortunate that the budding greatness of Grenada's sporting activities is being undermined by politics. I myself have been boasting about the growing abilities. I myself have witnessed while I was in Grenada. Oh, excuse me, let me read that again. I myself have been boasting about the growing abilities I myself have witnessed while I was in Grenada. So the pressure of the people needs to be focused on moving on to greater things.
And she can talk because I know her very well. She was an excellent promoter for our culture. Wonderful. She was one of the diehards who did a job that blossomed and produced real talent. I think that's why I'm saying volunteerism, because you had these games, you spend a large sums of money. Okay, George, weekend, I hope the games are great. I hope there's a full house, Grenada Internationals. But here is it. This is our third Grenada International. Unfortunately, we still don't have athletes to really compete with the people who are coming. What would make this really a real spectacle if we have Grenadian athletes who can rival our visitors in 5, 6, 7, 8 events. So it's going to be really an American show. It's going to be a visitor show. Except Taplin, who's a 400-meter quality runner. We really don't have many track athletes that are going to rival our visitors. So I'm saying the only how we can get there is if we recognize the teachers and others who are doing unpaid work for us. We have to find a way to motivate them to take it to another level, not undermine them and create this facade that last Friday heaven came down to Grenada and Jesus Christ was there, and and you have a couple of idiots really making propaganda of absolutely nothing at all. That's what it is. It's nothing. It's something we should be sad about.
Ray, you know that I'm not very, I'm not big on athletics. I learned a lot about athletics from you.
And Caribbean Games that you covered.
And the Caribbean, well, you and I worked together on the Caribbean Games a few years ago. So please help me. Why isn't karate taking part this year?
Well, these fellas are programmed. When they reach that level, they have coaches, they have part of the season that they work to peak themselves, and they just don't run like that. They're well programmed by the team of managers and whoever they are. So he must be planning for something else and how he's going to get there. Others may use Grenada as another stage of a development. So these athletes are not just coming to run. They program themselves to get to a point at a particular time in the year. Remember, next year is the Olympics. The World Championship is later this year. So the whole thing is, how do I get at my very best, at the ultimate, when the World Championship comes along? I think it's somewhere in the Middle East. But in Doha, I think one of these, I think in Doha.
All right. Ray, we're going to run a little bit over time, but I believe it's important that we do here. Coupling Francis says, Ray, if someone places last in a race, he can still boast of his success of being in the race. And please, Ray, don't belittle yourself by replying to that pretender. You know who.
Yeah, well, I didn't. As I said, my thing was to give him a lesson of how things evolve. It don't evolve because of politicians. Everything begins with volunteerism, and you get that, and then you grow it, and it becomes a professional. Nothing starts at the top. It grows. Even you were a toddler, and you grew into what you are today. It didn't start with George being George and made himself. Your mother, your grandmother, the community would have done something, and you groomed into that, and then you became what you are. So that's my point. And I would say to you too, I would have preferred if the commentators or the people who promoted the games would have said, look, here are the times, here are the drums, here are the throws. Because that's what is sport, you know. Sport really is the fastest, the longest jump, the furthest throw. And when you achieve that and you put that up, nobody can dispute you. But just to say it's a success because people had a good time. I mean, yes, it's a social engagement, so we have to expect that. But if we're going to promote school athletics, look at the Jamaica Champions game. Red Spurrier sends me information. It's all the times. Michael Bascom does that too. You talk about times and throws.
Right.
But what we're talking about here is the government games and, you know, the frills. That's not what athletics are about. To some extent, we have to appreciate that part. But the greater part is, because the scholarships we're talking about, not going to be in Grenada or come to Grenada because two fellas look good on the track. The college is going to say, let me see your history of your times. Let me have some idea of who you are. And the first thing they want to see, it's your times that started on the 10, on the 14, on the 15, on the 18, whatever it is.
All right. Margaret says, Ray has always been a supporter of young people in sports. Was always on the netball court for the high school games, even if he even if he supported the wrong school.
That was good.
Intercall too. So tell that pastor to wheel and come again.
No, I think, as I said to my friend, I don't think you deserve to be dignified. Stupidity is really left.
Does anybody take this guy seriously?
I think himself alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's a guy I like. I mean, as I said, I know him quite a while. When I was in Clico, I didn't get a cent, but he was one of the persons who, you know, gave me ideas as to what policy to invest in. Maybe that was a mistake because I didn't get any money. The boss.
Ryan Jaban says, yes, Ray, it's all propaganda and dominance of one social group over another. Athletics? Nah. Carla Clement says, yes, Mr. Ray Roberts. Miss Cheryl Jarvis taught me in school, and she was very passionate about our cultural heritage. Thank you, Miss Cheryl.
Yeah, I know. She had a lot of enthusiasm. She had a lot of fire in everything she did. But I would hope that we get into the real thing because, you see, look, cricket again. I read and I see all this. I want Skerritt. I was backing him because, as I said to you, the previous president to me was a little too egoistic and cocky. But Skerritt and Dr. Shallow, they're not going to make much of a difference in terms of the performance. Because in Grenada, the cricket season is almost through. We have not played a two-day tournament yet. The sports don't blossom from T20 and 30 overs because it's so short that players be inventive and creative. So we need a longer version that you can develop. And this is the second year we have not had a two-day tournament. And that's not only in Grenada. Like I see Grenada bowl out, Dominica, for 122, a debutant. Took six wickets for 10 runs, and they were all bowled long in 32 overs. That is Dominica.
Was that win ball cricket?
Well, that's the next thing. So as I said, yes, we won the match against St. Lucia. So we look like we play in St. Vincent today and tomorrow in the final. We may very well win. But look at beyond just that result. I mean, a team bowled out in 32 overs in a two-day match. I mean, that sends either the wicket was bad and that's a good excuse. But if the wicket was okay, I mean, you'll expect 60, 70, 80 overs. But, you know, we are, to be honest with you, I would hope the government views sports in a different light. Because where we are now, George, I know weekend going to be another charade of we had all the greatest here. But look at it. Have we in the 3 years been able to produce 3 or 4 Grenadians, not to win, but to rival the people that we are bringing?
Okay. Petra Andrew Thomas says, Ray, you are speaking with great wisdom, as always. You know your information so well. Kudos to you. Continue to champion for the people.
Well, let me put it, thank you, Petra, but let me say it this way. I'm not going to change into anything else. You know, I meet people and people talk about politics. I am not carried away by politics. I see it, I saw what I did last year as an experience, as a challenge, and that is history. So I'm not in any way carried away by that, and what I know best is what I am doing right now. I have done it for what? Long before politics, from the Gary era into the PRG, and I have written, I would say thousands of articles. Margaret has edited quite a few. She knows them. And she's quite right about, I used to back St. Joseph's Convent. She used to go high school. And I remember one of the things I used to say, the ladies on the Blessed Hill. And Margaret and others, even up to today, they remember me calling them the dark horses in the race. And why? Right? So, you know, I've gone through these things and I've done it with with a lot of passion. I go home, look at results, read the results, compare it with St. Lucia, St. Vincent. Then you go to Trinidad and Jamaica, and you get a sense of where we are. So, as I say to people who talk this thing about NDC politics and that kind of nonsense, you're talking to the wrong person.
All right, Ray, we got to scoot. We've gone 7 minutes over time, but before I do, I want to just go back a little bit. Earlier on, we were talking about the loss of former
Maurice Darius.
Right, Mr. Darius. Dennis Clark says, "Oh my gosh, how sad to hear of Brother Darius's death. My condolences to his wife and family." And Carla Clement also sends deepest condolences to the friends and family of Mr. Darius. R.I.P. Mr. Darius. Okay, so the man's going to be missed.
Yeah, he lived in the True Blue side, not too far from the Calise Church, and he was a regular at the Grand Aunt's Blessed Sacrament. He's more or less more Saturday than Sundays.
Okay.
Yeah, wonderful person. As you know, his brother was the bishop.
That's right.
He died about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So really and truly, a gentleman has left us, and I would join with you and others and extend my condolences to them and friends and family. And SGU this morning, as I said to you, he was the chief security man there or something like that in SGU.
Okay.
They were very much heartbroken.
Well, rest in peace, Mr. Darius. I didn't know him. I know him, but I didn't know him very well. Like, we didn't hang out together and so on, but I knew him, and I had a lot of respect for him. All right, Ray.
Good, George.
Thank you very much, sir. Don't take your headset off yet. Chill for a minute. You're going off to a meeting now?
No, I'm going to get some work done for Paralympics. And I'll bring you a piece next week. I'll send it to you. A guy did a video for us with kids. I thought it was very nice. I'm going to share it with you. It's about three minutes.
All right.
Maybe you can use it. The interviews are not that smart because the kids are only saying yes sir, no sir. But the point I'm trying to get across is the enthusiasm for being part of a community. They created their own disability, and they weren't, ashamed of it. They were proud to say they have met people, and if they are affected by it, they think they would want to be part of the wider society.
Yeah.
So I'll share it with you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ray Roberts. And folks, we're just about at the end of this morning's program. But before we go, one word, and then we'll come back with our inspirational.
Start the stride to a healthy lifestyle at the 2019 annual Pump It Up Family Fun Walk. There'll be more fun, more smiles, and more prizes for families and friends. Join us in Carriacou on April 7th at 4 p.m. as we walk from the Harveyvale playing field to the Hillsborough tennis courts, and in Grenada on April 28th at 4 p.m. from the Montrouge playing field to the National Cricket Stadium. Packages cost $20 per person for up to 2 individuals and $15 per person for groups of 3 or more. Come out in your numbers to help us raise funds towards re-establishing the Carlton Home.
Welcome home.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Alrighty, folks, just before we go, our parting word today comes to you from the book of Psalms, Psalm 146, verses 3, 4, 5, and 6. Do not put your trust in princes and human beings who cannot save. When their spirit departs, they return to the ground. On that very day, their plans come to nothing. Blessed are those whose help is the God of Jacob, whose hope is in the Lord their God. He is the maker of heaven and earth, the sea, and everything in them. He remains faithful forever. Psalm 146, verses 3, 4, 5, and 6. On that note, my dear friends, thank you so much for joining us for the Tuesday morning edition of Good Day Grenada. Thank my guest, Ray, for coming in, being with us, always very loyal. And by God's grace, we shall see thee again tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Bye-bye.